Hi, I'm glad you're here. My name is Kumi. In today's episode, we will be cutting and sewing this dress together. It's a butterfly dress with a pleated slit. Here are the items I would be using, and right here is the main fabric. So, this is the side of my fabric, and the upper part is where you determine the yard, the quantity of the fabric. So the length is now up to 60 and my client's full length is almost 60. So we will not be folding it like this as always. We are going to fold the length into two. Can you see? The length which was previously the side is now the upper part of the fabric. I don't know if you understand. The side of the fabric is now the upper part. So I have placed the major measurements I will be using. The first one is the starting point. The second is the waist, and the third is the hip, which is simply 8 inches away from my client's waist measurement. She's not tall. So the first thing I will do is to mark my client's shoulder measurement. My client's shoulder measurement is 8, half of is 16, half of that is 8. So I just marked it right there. We will not be adding 0.5 sewing allowance. Instead, we'll just place it and mark my client's preferred sleeve length. Then I will decide how wide I want the neckline to be. I will be using 4 and I I will be marking the depth of the neckline. So I will use 7 for the front and then 1 inch for the back. So for the back neckline, it's a wideness of 4 and a depth of 1 inch. But for the front, a wideness of 4 and a depth of 7 inches. I don't go below 7 inches if I do not want my client's cleavage to show. In fact, in some cases when the client is very busty, I don't even use up to 7, provided that they do not want their cleavage to show. So we are going to be connecting the neckline to the sleeve length, but before then I will come down by 1.5 inch, then connect it. Then I will add 0.5 inch, which will serve as the seam allowance. If this were our regular basic bodies, my shoulder slope does not exceed 1 inch. It's because this is a boo dress and it's been extended to the front. That's why I'm using 1.5 inch. I'll come right here and place my client's waist measurement and divide it by 4, then add 1 inch sewing allowance to it. I'll come to the hip, divide it by 4 and add 1 inch sewing allowance to it. I don't want this dress to have excess sewing allowance. I'll be telling you why much later. Come over to the hem, whatever you have at the hip, minus 1 from it and mark it at the hem of your dress, then connect it all the way to the hip. I have connected together. Can you see? The next thing you will do is to connect the hip to the sleeve length. But before then, come down by 1 inch from the hip downward, then just give it a slight curve like this. You are just going to connect like this. Can you see? The first one I did was okay. I'm just retracing so the choking can be pronounced. Pin where necessary, then cut. Come to the shoulder and trim off the excess fabric. So this is what it looks like. Can you see? For the back piece, you are going to mark about 6.5 inches all the way from the starting point to the hem of the dress. So if you fold the way we folded our fabric when we wanted to cut the front piece, you may not have enough depending on your sleeve length. You may not have enough, and I'm not ready to reduce my client's preferred sleeve length. So this is what I'll do. I will cut each of the back piece separately since I can't get two foldings at a go. So I'm going to cut each of them separately. So this is the waist, just like I did for the front, 17 inches, and the hip is 8 inches away from it. Then the full length of the gown plus 1 inch sewing allowance. And then you will notice at the center of the back piece there is a marking. It's 6.5 inches wide. It's 6.5 inches wide, and that's what I marked all the way to the end. Then mark 1.5 inch from that 6.5 inches. That's going to be for zip allowance. So to know where to stop this zip allowance, you are going to have to decide where you want your slit to stop. That's where this 1.5 inch marking is going to end. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. Mark 1.5 for zipper allowance, then stop wherever you want your slit to start from. Because this slit is pleated, it's not going to expose my client's body, so it can be as high as possible. So I'm just going to extend it to my client's knee length. What I'm doing right now is called the sway back effect. I have done this in a couple of my tutorials that required it. The advantage of this is that it's going to ensure that the zip rests well at the back of my client. Now, no matter how big your butt is, your zip should be able to rest well on it. It shouldn't budge. So this is what I am trying to achieve. And then I will place the front piece on it and pin. You would notice that the front piece is being placed on the new marking. Now I can cut. Can you see? At the side of the fabric, there is no difference. The major difference we have is at the center. I'm just going to extend this line. And I'm going to trim off. Come to the shoulder and trim off the excess. Remember we trimmed off 1 inch from the neckline. Place your tape like that. I just want to identify my client's knee length. I should have done this before trimming off the neckline. I forgot. So my client's knee length is 37. So that's where this zip allowance is going to end. And then I'll extend the line and trim off the excess. I won't be cutting off the old line. I will be cutting the new line. Can you see? This is the one I will be trimming off. I hope you understand up to this extent. So this is what we have. Remember, for the back, I only cut out one piece. So I will still be cutting one more piece for the back. But before then, I'm just going to trim off the front neckline. Now I can separate the front from the back piece. Then use um, the back piece that I have to trim off one more piece. Now, ensure that the right side of your back piece is facing the right side of the second piece you want to cut out. If not, you are going to stand the risk of cutting um, the same pattern twice. You can't afford to make that mistake, not when you are even managing fabric. Can you see? The two right sides are facing each other. So if not for this little space that I cut out, I would have had 1 yard left. I had almost 1 yard excess. So this is the front piece. I have cut the lining and this is what it looks like. So this is the back piece. I've cut the lining for it as well. And these are basically the parts I will be stitching. The neckline, the center. For the back piece, I won't be stitching the shoulder. As you can see, my lining is 1 yard, 1 inch shorter than the main fabric. I'm not going to stitch the shoulder, but every other stitching is going to be intact. Can you see? Do well to notch this region so the fabric can rest well. I did this for the second back piece as well. Can you see? I left that part to enable me open up, to enable me turn it to the right side. Can you see? At this point, you will need to fold this place like this with about 1/4 inch, then close it up. Can you see? So I have put the two back pieces together. Place your tape at the upper part and mark 1 inch. Then the next place you should mark is the waist. I splitted mine because I'm working with a short ruler. Nevertheless, I think this ruler should have still gotten to the waist from the start. I forgot actually. So don't forget, from the neckline, the next place you should mark is the waist because we went in there. Remember the sway back effect, right? So you should mark it like this. And then the next place you should mark it is the hip line. Can you see my line? Is the hip line. Then you connect. Why am I marking 1 inch? Initially, I gave the back piece zipper allowance 1.5 inch. So I believe I have turned it with 0.5 inch and that by now I am left with 1 inch. So it's that 1 inch that I'm marking. Don't forget that right here we marked 6.5 inches I have turned the center with 0.5, so I should be left with 6 inches by now. So out of that 6 inches, I will be joining this center with 0.5. So when I join it, I will eventually be left with 5.5. But first, before stitching, we are going to mark the 6 inches that we have left. If your stitching is adequate, is accurate rather, it should um rhyme with this 1 inch coming from the zipper allowance. So from that 0.5 inch, I will have 5.5 left. So I'm going to divide 5.5. But before then, I want to decide where I want the zipper uh, to stop. This is the waist, like I said earlier, 17 inches, and then the hip is 8 inches away from it. So I'm just going to come up by 2 inches from the hip, and that's where the zipper is going to stop. So I'm going to stitch all the way. When I get to where I want the zipper to stop, I'm going to reverse, then I'll continue. So like I said, I have 5.5 inch left, so I'm just going to share it into 3. So I have decided to mark 2 inches here, then 2 inches, then the remaining 1.5 will be the first one here. I'll come right here as well, mark 2 inches, another 2 inches, that makes 4 inches. The remaining 1.5 will be at the front. So the next thing I will do is when I get to where the slit will stop, I will reverse it there too. I'm going to sew like this and reverse right here. This is where the slit is going to stop. I'll reverse there, and then to each of the marking I did, I'm going to be stitching as well, straight up, straight up like this. I will be stitching. I won't reverse because I'm going to lose it later. So I have stitched, and this is what I have. Can you see? Now the next thing we are going to do, you should have hole underneath. So put your finger at both end and open up the space. Ensure the center aligns with the center of the zipper allowance, and then pin. You may want to pin for ease. Can you see? So just pleat it like this. Secure with your pin. Open up the second slit. Secure with your pin as well. Then open up the third slit. So I decided to take you through the process so you can fully understand. So you are going to secure this upper part with 0.5 inch. Can you see? Then you give it a good press. So I've given it a good press. I've also stitched. Can you see from the center to the left, from the center to the right? Can you see? I gave it a very good press. If you do not have a steam iron, just sprinkle water on it and iron it very well. So this is what I have. I'm going to be losing these lines. You won't lose this one. No, you're just going to lose this. You are going to start basically from the second one. So after losing it, this is what I have. Can you see? It's so nice. Now I'm going to cut the sequence fabric. I folded it into two, as you can see. The next thing I will do is to determine how wide I want the sequence to be at the shoulder. I'll be marking 5 inches for now. I'm not quite sure whether or not to reduce it, but tentatively, let's use 5 inches. Then go ahead and mark the hip, hip line, indicate the hip line on the sequence as well. Then trim off the neckline, the front neckline. I've trimmed off. I stopped right at my marking, which is 5 inches. So before anything else, do well to indicate your hip line, notch the hip line, then open up the front fabric like this. So I have opened up. Can you see? This is the hip line. I'm going to spread the sequence on it. I want to know where the hip line is. I'm going to indicate the hip line on the right side of the fabric like this. And from there, I will just come upward by 5 inches. So I will be connecting the marking at the hip line to the marking at the shoulder. Let me trim it off. You will need pin, a lot of pin at this stage. Is it looking like it now? I just had to trim that region off so you can understand what we are doing. I will come over to the other side, and then we did two marking. I came upward from the hip line by 5 inches. So I'm going to connect the second marking to the second shoulder. I'm just going to connect. After this process, I will later decide if I want to any other alteration I want to do on it. So this is the serious one of all the designs. The rest are just straight line. Not so straight, a little curvy, but because the fabric is stretchy, you can still work your way around it. But this is the only one I will be showing you. For the rest of the designs, you can literally walk around a straight line. So I'm going to trim off this side. I feel like I should retrace this side just a little. Be mindful of your main fabric so you don't mistakenly cut it. Can you see? This is what we have. And then you are going to place your trimmings at the edge like this. So I have done that. I later reduced this in size a little by like about 0.5 inch. This other one, that small piece would have extended a little more, but my trimmings was not going to be enough. So I had to stop right there. I will leave the details of the quantity of everything I used for you in the description box. If you would like to know, just check it out. So I'm going to place the lining on it like this. So because the front has two shoulders and there is no slitting at the center, you can stitch one shoulder and leave the other shoulder. Do you understand? You can always use one shoulder to turn it. So I have stitched and this is what I have. So right at the hem of the dress, I will simply mark the hip measurement, which is 44 divided by 2, that's 22. I'm going to take away 1 inch from 22, so I'll mark 21. This dress is not exactly pencil, so that's why we would be limiting it to 1 inch. You know, if it were to be our normal dress, I could even go as far as taking away 4 inches from whatever I have at the hip measurement. But for this one, I will only be taking 1 inch from the hip measurement. Then that's what I'll be placing. So the same allowance I have, I will share it into two, of which I will take one a portion of it on the right side and the other portion on the left side. So I'm going to rule that all the way to the hip line, just right where the curve starts from. So at the hem of the dress, we have an allowance of 1 inch. I'm going to be sharing 1 inch into two. So I will be taking 0.5 inch on this side all the way to the hip line, about where the curve starts from. Do you understand? Connect like this 0.5 inch all the way. Remember, at the point of cutting this dress, I only added 1 inch sewing allowance. So I have turned the fabric with 0.5. I'm simply taking the remaining 0.5. Trust me, you do not want this dress to have excess allowance. It's going to stress you at the final stage, of course. I will still show you. So I have stitched from the hip downward, and this is what I have. What we are about to do is the final stage of this dress. So first I'm indicating the waist measurement. So you should place your tape at the shoulder and indicate the waist measurement. And of course, you know the hip measurement is 8 inches away. For my client, she's not tall. So you can go as far as 8.5 or even 9 inches. So you're going to divide the waist by 2. So our waist is 40. I exaggerated it. My actual waist is 36. So I'm going to share the excess into 2. I will take half of it on the right side and half of it on the left. Right now I want to know a armhole depth. So don't place your tape at the shoulder to determine the armhole depth. You know the shoulder was slanted, right? If you place your tape here, you won't, what you will get will not be accurate. So at that armhole, that's where you will place our bust measurement. Our bust is also 44, half of that is 22. So what do I have left? I have 14. So it means I will be marking 7 inches here. I'm sharing that 14 into 2. So I will connect the marking at the bust to the marking at the waist. Come over to the hip length and divide the hip by 2. Hip is also 44. So hip divided by 2 is 22. So mark 22, then check whatever allowance you have left and share it equally between both sides of your dress. This is 22. I have 1 inch allowance, so I'll just mark 0.5 inch here. I'll connect it to the waist. Can you see? And I'm just going to extend it a little like that downward. Can you see? Just extend a little. So this is how I'm going to stitch it. It was at this point that I remembered that I placed my tape at the shoulder. Our armhole length is 8.6, so I'm just going to mark. So I was behind by about 0.5 inch. So I'm just going to stitch directly on the fabric like this. Everything I did on the other side, I'm going to do on this side. Indicate the waist, indicate the hip length, indicate the armhole depth, then place the half of the measurement on it. Guys, this is the final outcome. With this, we've come to the end of this tutorial. I hope you had a good time with me. Kindly share your thoughts in the comment section, and don't forget to check the description box for the details of the quantity of the items I used. Thank you so much for watching. Till I come your way in my next tutorial. Bye guys.